Last week's Torah portion ended with a cliffhanger. His brothers still do not realize that Joseph, is the prime minister of Egypt. He frames them by having his goblet hidden in one of their bags, sends his servant out to detain and accuse them. Their bags are searched, and sure enough, the goblet is found in the bag of the youngest brother, Binyamin. They come back to Yosef, who accuses them. And rather than arguing, claiming that they were framed maybe by someone in the palace, maybe by the jester, Yehuda, the leader of the brothers, speaking on behalf of all of them, says words that are such an iconic admission of guilt that we borrow them and say them twice a week in our morning prayers. He says, "What can we say, my Lord? How can we speak? How can we justify ourselves?" And he continues, "God has uncovered the sin of your servants. We'll all be your slaves, both the one in whose bag the goblet was found and all of the rest of us." The prime minister, Yosef, says back to him, "No, only the culprit will be my slave." The Torah portion ends. And then we begin this week, and there's a sea change. Yehuda approaches Yosef. "Can I have a word with you, sir?" If you look at what he says, it looks like he's just making an appeal to Yosef's sense of fairness and to his emotions. But the commentators say that there's an important subtext. He's threatening him. If you don't let little bro go, we're going to war. I'm laying down the gauntlet. We will take on you and Pharaoh and the whole country. What happened? Why was Yehuda so willing to accept the punishment when they were all going to be slaves, or so he thought? And now, when the prime minister reduces the punishment to just one of them being a slave, he's ready to fight. Perhaps the explanation is this. When bad things happen to us, we're supposed to stop and think and introspect, take stock of our actions and consider, maybe God's sending me a message. Maybe it's a consequence of something that I did. Maybe I've got to repent my misdeeds and figure out how to improve. And that's what Yehuda was doing. When he realized that it looks like they're all going to be slaves, he says it's obviously from God. We're being punished for our misdeed of all those years ago when we sold our brother Yosef as a slave, even though he was innocent. And now the punishment is so exquisitely planned by God. Because think about it, not only are we becoming slaves, but Binyamin, who did absolutely nothing wrong, wasn't part of the original sale, he's also going to be a slave. So we're going to see what it's like for an innocent person to become enslaved as a result of our misdeeds. Just like way back during the sale of Yosef, an innocent person was sent to slavery due to our mistake, our transgression. But then when the prime minister reduces the punishment, says, "Oh, no. I just want Binyamin as a slave." Yehuda instantly pivots and realizes that's not a message from God. Binyamin didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't involved in the original sale. That makes no sense. In that case, we're going to fight. See some very important lessons from this. First, how you have to try to suss out what is God possibly trying to say to me, and how can I improve if I take that lesson to heart. However, once you realize that you're in a situation where God has left the building, you're in a place where you don't belong, or with people with whom you shouldn't associate, trying to talk you into doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or talk you out of something that you should be doing. You've got to realize that it's time to get out of Dodge. God's not there, and he doesn't want you there, and you've got to leave. And finally, you have to realize that although it's very important to try to always look for God's presence and recognize his absence and get out of there when he's not there, when you're making that determination and thinking about what God might be telling you, realize that at best, it's a maybe. You can't ever be presumptuous or arrogant enough to think that you've got it figured out. I know what God's doing here and I know why he's doing it. Maybe you're right, maybe you're not. So take the lessons, try to improve, but realize, man plans, God laughs. God plans, man ponders and tries to figure out, hopefully, how to improve.